Please go ahead, ma'am.
Hello, and thank you everyone for joining today's webinar for the Larsen Lam ICONIQ Impact Award. Again, my name is Christabel Boyena, and I work for Common Pool, the agency that is supporting Leverage for Change for this competition. Please note that this webinar is being recorded, and we will post a recording of the competition on the competition website in about a week. We have a short agenda for you all today. We'll start with an overview of the competition provided by Lever for Change. I will then do a walkthrough of the website with my colleague Ethan Matthews, and then we'll open it up for your questions. So when you're ready, please go ahead and type your questions into the chat box, and we'll answer as many as you can. Please note that the deadline to register for the Larsen Lam ICONIQ Impact Award is Tuesday, May 5th at 3 p.m. Pacific. And if you have more questions after today's session, please email them to questions@larsenlamiconicImpactAward.org. Now, I'm pleased to turn things over to Muhsin Hassan, Awards Director with Lever for Change.
Thank you, Christabel. Welcome again to the Larsen Lam ICONIQ Impact Award pre-registration webinar. My name is Muhsin Hassan. I'm an Awards Director at Lever for Change. Lever for Change is an affiliate of MacArthur Foundation. Our mission is to unlock significant philanthropic capital and help bold philanthropists accelerate positive social change around the world's biggest challenges. Lever for Change manages the Larsen Lam ICONIQ Impact Award on behalf of the sponsors and donor partners. In the next few minutes, I'll give an overview of the award sponsors, donor partners, and speak briefly about the criteria around the competition to really help you understand what we're looking for and what makes a competitive proposal. Should any questions arise as I speak, please feel free to type your questions in the chat/comments box. We've allocated the last 30 minutes to answer these questions. So the Larsen Lam ICONIQ Impact Award will award $12 million to an innovative, scale-ready solution to support the well-being of refugees around the world and secure a brighter, more durable future for refugees. As you might have seen on the website, this award is sponsored by Chris Larsen and Lena Lam, who have a personal connection to refugee families and are deeply passionate about this issue. Lena and her family were refugees after the Vietnam War and Cambodian genocide, where they spent 3 years in various refugee camps. After that, they were sponsored to the United States, where Lena earned her way out of public housing to work in technology, became a small business owner of a cafe, and now serves as the founder and executive director of the A Khmer Buddhist Foundation, which is a nonprofit that helps the Cambodian American community and other refugee groups. Chris Larsen, husband to Lena, is an angel investor, serial entrepreneur, and the current executive chairman of Ripple, and was a co-founder and former CEO of several other innovative companies. In addition to Chris and Lena, this award is sponsored by ICONIQ Impact. ICONIQ Impact is ICONIQ Capital's platform for collaborative philanthropy. Inspired by the investment edge afforded by their network, ICONIQ Impact connects their philanthropic portfolio with high-impact, scalable models that provide measurable results. In fact, in addition to the $10 million that Chris and Lena donated to the competition, an ICONIQ Impact family has donated an additional $2 million to bring the total award to $12 million. It's important to note that there will be one single award of $12 million at the end of the competition, which will be paid out over 5 years. After applications are submitted, proposals will go through a peer-to-peer review stage. The top proposals from that stage will then go on to the evaluation panel, members of whom are on the website, and Christabel will talk in more detail about the process. But after that, it's important to note that 5 finalists will be selected, and Lever for Change will work with these 5 finalists to strengthen their capacity and provide various forms of technical assistance. Once the awardee is selected at the end, finalists will then be placed into Lever for Change's Bold Solutions Network, where they will continue to receive technical assistance while Lever for Change helps them find funding for their proposals. We encourage you to please assess your fit for this award by first filling out the organizational readiness tool and register by Tuesday, May 5th at 3 p.m. Pacific time. The registration process is very quick and quite straightforward. Once you have registered, please complete and then submit your application by Tuesday, June 2nd, also at 3 p.m. Pacific time. Please note that the application is already up on the competition website, and you can begin working on your application after you register. As you work on your application, please refer to the scoring rubric on the website. The rubric outlines the criteria upon which your proposal will be evaluated in both the peer-to-peer review phase as well as the evaluation panel should you make it to that stage. I'll now talk a bit more about the criteria and what we would consider a strong proposal. So there are 4 criteria, each with a score of 1 to 5 as indicated on the website. And the website is very user-friendly, so you can scroll through the different scores and really see what makes a difference between a 1, a 2, 3, 4, and a 5. So the first criterion is community informed. And this criterion is really about ensuring that the solutions you propose take into account the needs of refugees and the beneficiaries for whom your solution seeks to help out. As a competition that's sponsored by former refugees, we would like to see refugee-led solutions. A strong proposal, therefore, will demonstrate deep community roots with authentic stakeholder relationships. And as you can see on the website, that is what will earn you a score of 5 on the rubric. The next criterion is impactful. And here, we're really looking to see or to find an impactful solution that will really result in long-term transformational change. For far too long, the needs of refugees have been treated through a short-term lens. But as you all know, refugees are often in protracted situations for several years. And while short-term emergency relief is essential, the Larsen Lam ICONIQ Impact Award is looking for solutions that build on existing efforts, solutions that can be scaled to meet growing needs, and solutions that will result in transformational long-term change. The third criterion looks at the feasibility of the solution. And in this part, this is where we really look at the capacity of your team to deliver and implement the solution. And this will look at the budget as well as the implementation plan that really addresses the risks and barriers to success. And in this age where the whole world is grappling with the effects of the coronavirus pandemic, this is also part of where we will look to see how your solution is addressing the changing realities on the ground. The last criterion is evidence-based. Since we're looking for solutions that will secure a durable future for refugees, your proposed solution cannot be in the pilot phase or an experimental approach. Rather, we would like to see a solution that has evidence that demonstrates that results are achievable. That means a strong proposal will not only present evidence that it works, but also demonstrate that this approach or the approach that you're proposing can be replicated as a model in other communities. I encourage you to please go through the scoring rubric as you work on your application and make sure that you take into account all the points that we've highlighted on the website. I'll now hand it over back to Cristobal from Common Pool to explain in more detail the application, the eligibility criteria, and other aspects of the competition process.
Thanks so much, Muhsin, and thanks again, everyone, for joining this webinar. It really is our goal to provide all the information you need to help decide whether or not to register for this competition. So as mentioned, the registration deadline is a few weeks away. Registration must be complete by Tuesday, May 5th at 3 p.m. Pacific. Registration is required by this deadline in order to submit a proposal. Then the application deadline is another 4 weeks from this registration deadline on Tuesday, June 2nd at 3 o'clock p.m. Pacific. Registration is a simple process. You can go to the upper right-hand corner of any page on the website and click on the button that says 20 days to register. You'll then be instructed to create and confirm your account before completing a registration form that will request some basic information about your organization. And this helps us to better understand our registrant community. And for all of our competitions, we embrace the values of openness, transparency, and fairness. We want to make sure that everyone who registers and applies for this award knows exactly what we expect from them, when and how they're going to be scored, and who will be evaluating their solutions. This website is really an instructional guide for all of you to understand that process. So the first to start with is the organizational readiness tool, which you can find on the menu. Once you click on that menu item for organizational readiness, you'll be presented with a quiz or a questionnaire comprised of 9 questions. If you answer yes to each of these questions, you are very likely prepared to move forward and to complete the registration process. If you answered no to any of these questions, then we highly encourage you to find a partner organization who would help ensure you're a stronger fit for this award, or perhaps consider seeking out other opportunities that might be a better fit. Once we've completed this organizational readiness tool and decided you will be competitive for this program, then we ask you to return to the menu and start looking at the application, as Musen had mentioned. All of the application requirements are available for any visitor to this website. You can go in and review all the questions and the prompts that are required to complete the application process. There are 9 sections in the application, and we ask that you read through the application in its entirety before you begin, so that you have a deeper understanding of what you need in order to submit a competitive application. And again, this is available for everyone, regardless of if you register or not. And the next question we often get is, now that I have the information in order to apply, how will I be evaluated? Musen introduced the 4 traits in our rubric that we're going to ask you to consider: community-informed, impactful, feasible, and evidence-based. When you go to the scoring rubric on our website, as Musen mentioned, you can see the key traits, and this will be the same tool that all of our applicants and judges will be using as they score their assigned applications. And as you look at the predefined phrases that define each of those scoring ranges, you can start to understand what it means to score high or low for any given trait. We find that many of our applicants will examine these scoring range definitions to then reverse engineer the process and write to the higher end of the rubric, and we encourage you to do that. So please spend some time looking at what is defined as a strong proposal for this award. And again, the rubric is going to be the tool that applicants and our evaluation panel will be using to score their assigned applications. The first round of evaluation is peer-to-peer review. Each lead applicant will have a few weeks in July to score and comment on 5 applications from other organizations using this scoring rubric. This review is required by our applicants in order to remain eligible to participate in later stages of the competition. Once peer-to-peer review is complete, a subset of top scoring applications will then move forward to the evaluation panel. In addition to numeric scores, peer reviewers and evaluation panel judges will also be required to provide comments to justify each score for each trait in the rubric. Reviewers will also provide a final numerical score ranging between 0 to 100, representing an overall impression of the entire application. So now that we've shown you the application requirements in order to participate, and we reviewed how applications will be evaluated, now let's dive into who is doing the evaluation and how we are ensuring a process that is fair. To address the question of fairness, we have a web page dedicated specifically to explaining how we normalize the reviewer scores. Go to the menu and hit Level Playing Field. Again, every valid application will be scored by 5 fellow applicants, and a subset of these top scoring submissions will then be scored by 5 members of our evaluation panel. This means that not every applicant and not every judge will look at every application. Therefore, we look at those reviewer scores and make sure that you're not disadvantaged if by chance you were assigned to hard graders versus another applicant who might get an advantage if they were assigned to easy graders. So here we've outlined how we go about rescaling those scores to ensure fairness, and we encourage you to read through this to learn more. Now that we know that it's a fair process, you might ask, who are the people that are going to be evaluating my proposal? To address this, we ask that you return to the menu and look at meet the judges. There are currently 50 evaluation panel members featured. You can read about them and see all of their credentials, and know that not only will you receive scores on your application from 5 of these individuals, but you'll also get feedback. We also find that this feedback is one of the most important aspects of participating in our competitions for our applicants. And that even if you aren't selected as a finalist or awarded a grant, you walk away with valuable feedback that you can then use to refine your solutions and perhaps seek other funding or expanded support. The next item on the website I want to share with you is the rules page. Here you can read about all of the legal stipulations on the teams governing your participation. It talks about eligibility criteria, and here you can learn more about the detailed terms and conditions that are required of all of our participating teams. And then lastly, let's go to the timeline page. The timeline details and highlights each phase of the competition. And again, another reminder that registration is required and must be completed by Tuesday, May 5th at 3 p.m. Pacific. And you must register by this deadline in order to submit a proposal. And we have our application deadline that's 4 weeks from the registration deadline on Tuesday, June 2nd, also at 3 p.m. Pacific. And you'll also see in the timeline that we have peer-to-peer review, which will be over a period of 3 weeks in July. But this can help you plan your time accordingly. Review happens independently over this time period, and applicants will be using our online scoring platform to evaluate and comment on their assigned applications. You'll see that in September, we'll announce up to 5 finalists who will move on to the next phase of the competition. And then it is our hope that the grant award is made and awarded in March 2021. All of the key steps of the competition are available for you here on the timeline. So I'll wrap this up by saying that there are other pages that we did not detail on this webinar, like the news and updates page, and some aspects of the homepage like the question and answers, where you'll find a lot of FAQ information. Just know that this is a very intuitive website with lots of helpful information, so we ask that you spend as much time reading through it as possible. And now we can move on to the Q&A portion of the webinar. See that we have quite a bit of questions. Please continue to add them, and again, we'll try to get to as many as possible. I will start by saying that to ensure fairness for all of our applicants, we're not able to provide guidance specific to your proposed solution. So we encourage you to take the organizational readiness tool and review the pages of the website to help determine if your solution is a strong fit for this competition. And again, you can also email us with more specific questions at questions@LarsenLambIconicImpactAward.org, and our team will respond to you. All right, let's get started with the first question. While considering the fit of our idea to the scope of the ICONIQ award, would it be possible to shortly pitch our proposed solution to the team before the application process? I think as I mentioned, yes, go ahead, Mrs.
Yeah, go ahead, Christabel. I think you had already talked about this.
Yes, but to ensure fairness for all of our applicants, we can't, have any phone conversations or in-person meetings or provide any specific guidance on the strength of your proposal. Again, we have the tools in place on the website and the information provided to help you determine if you're eligible and if you're a strong fit for the competition. Okay, next question. Do shortlisted candidates receive financial support?
I can answer this one. So as I mentioned before, the finalists receive technical support. As Christabel also pointed out, you saw the 4-month period where we work at Lever for Change. We work with the finalists to really, strengthen their proposals, but also address organizational capacity issues. So at this time, there will be no financial support to the finalists. However, the finalists will be included in the Bold Solutions Network, where they'll continue to have and receive technical support from various experts funded and paid for by Lever for Change, as well as the support of Lever for Change in finding other donors who could potentially fund their proposals.
Great, thank you, Musin. Next question, can we apply for any one of the objectives or any of the target areas?
Yes. So as we mentioned, as it states in the application, the three broad areas are really what we determine to be areas that through which we can really secure a durable future for refugees. However, these are different areas, and you don't always have overlap across them. So we do not expect a solution to address all three areas. So it is completely fine if you want to focus, for example, on resettlement only, or you want to focus on local integration, or you want to focus on repatriation. So to answer the question, you can definitely just focus on one target area.
Great. Okay. Given the difficulty of arranging a video shoot during the COVID-19 pandemic, will any adjustments be made to the video requirement?
I'll also answer this one. So the video requirement does not really require you to have to put in a lot of resources. We certainly do not expect high quality, videos that require you to devote a lot of time or resources into it. In many cases, we've had applicants simply shoot a video from a phone. Your video could be somebody from your team, a program officer, or your leader of your organization, simply talking about your proposal, and that would suffice. We do not expect you to go to the field and film beneficiaries or film the project being carried out or implemented. The video requirement is really just another avenue for the applicant to really talk and frame their solution in their own words and share more details that they might perhaps or were not really able to do so through the application. So we do not really expect this to be a burden on the applicants, and please do not really devote a lot of resources and feel free to share a video that is quite simple. And we will post some examples on the forum in the next couple of days, so you can see the range of videos that are really acceptable.
Thank you, Musin. Yes, and we found that the simple videos actually tend to be very successful in communicating, the passion or the story in a really succinct, concise way. And so definitely look at the application and see the different requirements here and make sure you meet them before submitting your application. Okay, next question. After 5 years, do we have to leave the implementation of the model to other organizations?
There's no requirement that you leave the implementation of the model to other organizations. The funding is really over 5 years to ensure that there's continued support. When it comes to sustainability, we do hope that in your plan and implementation plan, you've built in mechanisms that allow for the project to continue beyond the 5 years of funding, and a strong proposal in that regard will ensure that the initiative is really taken up by the community. And if you remember, one of the key criteria is community informed. So we hope that that's how you're able to address the question of sustainability. However, there is no requirement that another organization take over the project.
Great, thank you. Are there any specific rules or guidance about who from the organization should register?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. One moment.
I can repeat it. Sorry. Yeah. Are there any specific rules, guidance about who from the organization should register?
Okay. No, we don't have specific rules as to who in an organization should register. However, we do ask that the person be readily available and accessible to receive all the updates through the forum, to receive all the information about webinars, any updates to any aspect of the competition. The person simply has to have a valid email address and be able to access the forum and the website, and also be able to submit the application when the time comes. So it can be any person, and we leave that's up to the discretion of the organization to decide who they want to designate as the point of contact to register and be the point of contact through whom they can communicate with the level for change as well as the Common Pool team.
Okay, great. Since the award is $12 million, do small organizations with budgets less than $2 million have a chance if their solutions are in fact impactful and proven?
That's a good question. And the answer is yes. If you actually go back to some of the discussions we've had, the $12 million will be paid out over 5 years. And that really means every year an organization will be getting around $2 million, slightly more than $2 million. We have not put any floor or ceiling with regard to the types of organization, especially around budget sizes, because we recognize that there are a lot of small organizations that are working on the front line of these issues, that are community-driven, that have feasible, impactful and evidence-based approaches and solutions to securing the well-being of refugees, and we encourage them to apply and submit their proposals.
Great. In the scoring rubric on that website, the explanatory text for a score of 4 and a score of 5 are identical. Can you explain how you will distinguish between these scores when the criteria are the same? So yes, this gives reviewers opportunity to score on that scoring range definition from a 4 to a 4.3 or 4.5 all the way to a 5. And so it gives them opportunity to determine how strong they think the applicant meets that criteria in the full range of 4 to 5. And that happens for each of the scoring range definitions. Am I understanding correctly that fellow applicants are going to serve as the peer-to-peer reviewers in July? And yes, all applicants that submit a valid application will be assigned submissions to review to provide scores and feedback and an overall impression for each of those applications. And we've actually found this also provides opportunities for applicants to learn more about other efforts, could potentially lead to additional collaboration, partnership, lots of opportunity there. Are your judges experienced in implementing large-scale projects in refugee settings?
That's a good question. Our judges bring a variety of experience on refugees working in protracted and fragile contexts. And as you can tell and kind of scroll through the website and see their experience, we've really tried to bring a diverse group of judges who also bring kind of the different perspectives that the refugee crisis or refugees face across the globe. Because as you know, the contexts differ. While you have refugees across the globe, the specific contexts that refugees in specific geographic areas face are quite different. So what we've tried to account for is bring in a panel that reflects diversity of the issues, the diversity of the geographic areas that are relevant for refugees and the refugee crisis. And I think you can definitely scroll through and see that we have, we've really tried to put together a panel that reflects all these nuances that will be critical when we actually evaluate and try to identify a strong proposal that will indeed secure a durable future for refugees.
Thank you, Larsen. There's a question here that perhaps might need some elaboration, but I'll go ahead and share it. Can we have cross-subsidization of the model?
I'm not clear on what is meant by the question.
So if you can provide
I
more
might be able
information.
to provide a little bit of maybe more context. I think what the person might be asking is whether or not the model can be subsidized by multiple donors and or through other fundraising mechanisms, whether it's, they have some kind of investment strategy around their particular model. If that's the case, then yes, that type of cross-subsidization would be fine.
Excellent. Thank you, Kristen. All right, there's a question about the proposed audience or the population that can be served through this competition. We recommend that you go to the application page, and under section D, the challenge, we have a question called point of intervention, and this lists the eligible populations that can be served through an award, through the Larsen Lamb ICONIQ Impact Award.
And just to add to that, go ahead, Crystal.
No, go ahead, please.
I was just going to point out that the first selection there is individuals living in their country of origin but facing refugee status. In many ways, these types of individuals are also called internally displaced persons. So displaced persons are an eligible population to be served, as well as in this case, people who have been expelled in their countries and are living in other countries. That is, by definition, a refugee. So these are, acceptable populations. But we encourage you to please go through the application, and if you have any questions, in case anything is not clear, please reach out to questions at Larsen Lamb ICONIQ Impact Award.org.
Great, thank you. Next question, if we have a profile page set up, is that the same as registration? So when you do create your account and go into the registration portion of the platform, there's a form that asks for some basic contact information, just so that we can make sure we provide communications and have a little bit more information about who's registering and interested in the award. The user profile is optional and will not be considered, the information provided will not be considered as part of the registration or application process. Could you talk a little bit about what information is needed to complete the registration process, especially for consortia application? So again, I think I just mentioned, but for the registration form, it is really some basic information about the lead applicant for the proposal. You'll have opportunity to speak more to the team and any partners in the application form. Next question, can you provide some more explanation about the MOU portion of the application and the partnership teaming element of the application? Are we expected to have signed MOUs with all organizations with which we will partner, or is it okay to have partnerships without the fully signed MOUs at the initial stage? Are MOUs only for organizations that are included in the budget?
This is a good question. We do encourage that you have signed MOUs with all organizations that you will partner with and all organizations that are in the budget and are relevant to the implementation of the solution. While we do not ask for the MOU when you submit your application, this is one of the follow-up documentation that will be requested should you proceed to the next stages of the competition. So our recommendation is that while you might not have a signed MOU right now, that you please start working towards getting a signed MOU such that when the time comes and we are in need of an MOU, you're able to provide one.
And I'll add also the process of beginning the MOU and getting that going also tends to be helpful as you develop the proposal and describe the roles that all of your partners are playing in the proposal. We do encourage you to get started on that. Could you please let us know how many awards will be provided?
Yes, there'll be one award of $12 million. And that award will go to one awardee or applicant team. So, the organization, it could be one organization that has a number of partners, but there'll be one award made to a single proposal.
Great, thank you, Nitin. All right, next question. Would the European continent be a targeted field for this call, or is the call focused on sponsoring solutions for developing countries?
The European continent is certainly a targeted field. If you go back to the focus areas, if we think about resettlement, for example, Europe and North America, these are some of the main players or continents where refugees are resettled. So European countries are essential and are at the front line in many ways, given the present reality facing refugees. So they are definitely a targeted field, and solutions that seek to work to promote the well-being of refugees who are based in Europe in critical countries that we all know of are definitely going to be considered competitive proposals.
Great. All right, next question. We have a couple around peer-to-peer review, so I'll try and get these answered together. How many applications will be passed from the peer-to-peer review to the evaluation panel level?
I don't think we have. Go ahead, Christabel.
Yeah, there's no definitive number at this point. There are different factors that are considered, but it really is left to the discretion of the donor partners, and depending on the number of applications received and where the different scores fall. And again, we leave this up to the discretion of the donors to choose what the cutoff might be to move on to the evaluation panel. But the goal is to get as much feedback for applicants that participate in this competition as possible. I don't know if there's anything you'd like to add there, Nitin.
No, I think that's right on. That's on point. And as Christabel mentioned, while we don't have a set number right now, what we've found in the past is that there usually is going to be a very clear cutoff point or a point, a kind of drop-off point, and we will, again, kind of in line with the values, through which we run the competition and we manage this award of openness and transparency. These results are going to be communicated very clearly to the applicants, to basically ensure that there are no questions and it's clear why the decisions were made.
Great, thank you. Again, in relation to peer-to-peer review, which staff members from applicant organizations will be encouraged to complete the peer-to-peer review? Are they grant officers, program staff, leadership, or will it be up to the individual applicants? And I would say we leave it up to the individual applicants. And Listen, yes, please feel free to add.
Nope, that's correct. I think it's up to the organization to determine who is best placed to evaluate the application and give the feedback.
And it can be collaborative. There's a way for you to share information and get feedback from the team as needed before you score and do a final submission of your reviews. Is there anything else around peer review that I can see quickly? Okay. Next question. Is there a target number of size of population proposals should reach?
There is no target number. However, we do ask that for a proposal to be competitive, you really have to demonstrate that the impact is significant, and impact could mean either size of beneficiaries or looking at kind of the depth of the impact in terms of a variety of services that will be provided to a specific kind of community of refugees or beneficiaries. So there are no hard rules around size and numbers. However, we do ask you to take into account that the award is of $12 million, and this is quite a significant amount. So we do hope that as you devise or kind of think about your solution, you do take into account the impact that you will have and the questions or the points that have been emphasized through the application around impact and long-term transformational change for refugees.
Great. And then a similar question, or related question. If the intervention was successful in one country, can we propose to duplicate the model in other countries?
Yes. In fact, when we think about highly scalable, or when we say we want scalable solutions, this is definitely one of the aspects of scalability that we're looking for. We will just recommend that you do clarify or demonstrate through evidence, and we've outlined the different types of evidence that are acceptable, that this mechanism or intervention has worked, and as long as you can provide the evidence to demonstrate that, as well as show in your implementation plan how you intend to engage the relevant stakeholders, other communities in these other countries, and replicate the solution. That is very welcome, and that would be considered a strong proposal.
Thank you, Muhsin. Can you explain what are some good examples of what is considered to be community-informed or refugee-led solutions? I don't know if we have specific examples ready, Muhsin, but they can definitely go to the rubric and learn from more information there. But yes, please, if there's anything you'd like to share here, that'd be great.
Yeah, and very quickly, I can tell you what is not a good refugee led solution. And I think usually that's one way of also thinking about it. So, when you're looking at your solution, you should ask yourself, are we engaging, beneficiaries, people who we actually intend to reach? If you look at your team, the organizations with which you're working, are they, on the ground working with refugees? Are refugees represented in some of these, in these entities? And how does your solution actually take into account these needs? Has it been informed by these needs? These are some of the aspects that we consider, critical in crafting refugee-led solutions.
Excellent, thank you. Is there a preference for existing partnerships to be demonstrated through the application?
I would say that it definitely helps, especially as you talk about your team in the application, to demonstrate very clearly that you do have, existing partnerships, and these partnerships are, functioning and thriving. If you go back to kind of the rubric and you look at the likelihood of success, as I mentioned before, this is where we're really going to focus on, the team and your capacity. And when I say your capacity, really the team's capacity to implement the solution. So if you can demonstrate in the application that you have existing partnerships and the successes you've achieved, that will most, certainly help, when evaluators as well as peer-to-peer reviewers are looking at your proposal, and especially in light of the likelihood of success criterion or feasibility.
Great, thank you. Can we change the location of working of the model as a need arises in different geographies?
I think if the question is hinting at replicating a model that is successful in other geographies, I think the answer there is yes. Again, we would really look to your application and your team to demonstrate your ability to do so. So it's okay to work in other contexts, other geographies, and we understand that the situation on the ground is quite dynamic and ever-changing. However, the application should just clearly demonstrate your capacity and ability to do so, and the measures that you've taken to ensure that the risks to trying to work in other geographies have been accounted for, and you've put in mechanisms in place that will ensure that the solution will be successful to the best of your ability, despite you working in other geographies.
Great, thank you. A couple questions around the evaluation panel. Are organizations represented by judges ineligible for the award?
So we have a recusal policy that we've communicated with our judges. So a judge can be from an organization that wants to apply or applies to the award. What we do ask is that a judge cannot be part of the project team. Also, a judge cannot be the head of an organization that submits a proposal. If you are an employee of an organization that submits a proposal, we will ask you to, and you are not the head of the organization, nor are you on the project team. You can certainly participate on the evaluation panel. However, you will not be able to judge a proposal from your own organization. And we'll make sure that whatever proposal that particular judge looks at are from other organizations.
Great. Can you elaborate on what is meant by technical support provided to the finalists?
Sure. So this period of about 4 months is where we will work with the finalists to identify gaps in both kind of their solution that they've proposed, as well as their organization to really effectively implement that solution. So the type of technical support will depend on this kind of needs assessment, if you will, all of that organization when we get to that stage. I can just mention briefly, however, the types of support that we have provided before. They range from looking at really strengthening the monitoring and evaluation aspect, for example, of a proposal, as one example, or really looking at and providing support in pitching the proposal, for example, and really crafting, your kind of the top line message in the solution. Other types of technical assistance have included working on theories of change and really ensuring finalists have a very clear, actionable theory of change. So, these are just examples of the types of technical assistance we've offered. And for this particular competition, we will determine that as we approach, that stage of the competition.
Great, thank you. Are intergovernment agencies such as IOM and UNHCR allowed to apply as lead applicants?
No. So I think it's on the rules. So government agencies and intergovernmental agencies are part of that, are not allowed to apply as a lead applicant. However, we hope and encourage them to apply as part of a team because we recognize the very critical role a lot of these entities play, especially when it comes to the refugee crisis and addressing needs of refugees and displaced persons.
Great. I see a couple questions around technical issues with the platform. We do encourage you to email us at questions@LarsenLambIconicImpactAward.org in order for us to provide some support for you there. Right. If our solution is focused on local integration, can the funds be used as a revolving fund to ensure that the solution is available for as many refugees and IDPs as possible?
I think the rules provide some guidance around the creation of funds, or around the creation of funds. What we do not allow is the creation of an endowment. So if your solution cannot be to receive the $12 million and simply create an endowment that would then be invested to generate more income that would go to support refugees. It is okay to have a component of your solution be the creation of a fund that supports refugees and addresses the question of sustainability. However, we do not allow for the creation of funds through challenge support or challenge funds, or the creation of endowments.
Great. For the evidence-based criteria, will it be possible to submit studies or reports or links to such, or is an applicant limited to the word count in the application form to present evidence of prior success?
Yes, it will be possible to submit studies or reports. There will be a bibliography section where you're welcome to provide the studies that support the effectiveness of your solution. And we recognize that the word count does not allow for you to give rehash or summarize entire studies, and that's why the bibliography is there to allow you to provide additional resources that support your solution. And this applies to evidence-based as well as other criterion.
And I'll add that we do encourage you to stick with the word count, and that if you move on to later stages of competitions, you'll have opportunity to provide more information as well. Are the effects of COVID affecting the competition's criteria or process? The virus is affecting many organizations' ability to access refugee communities due to restrictions to movement. These restrictions are likely to continue for some time.
Yes, we recognize the challenges that the COVID-19 pandemic has posed to those of us working in the social impact space, but especially on the refugee issues. However, as Cristobal mentioned, we do have there's still a few months, and we've given ample time, for organizations and applicants such as yourselves to really think about the solutions that you're implementing and start working on the application. So at this time, we do not anticipate adjusting the timeline. However, we're monitoring the situation very closely, and should we come to the decision that we need to give more time to applicants or adjust the timeline in any way, we'll most certainly communicate that to all registrants, all applicants, and there will be language on the website that indicates that.
Thank you, Larsen. And we do have maybe about 5 more minutes left to answer the questions, and we have quite a few questions left in the queue. So we do encourage folks that if we didn't get to your question, or if you have something very specific about your eligibility, the audiences that you're serving or supposed to serve, we encourage you to, again, complete the organizational readiness tool or submit questions to questions@larsenlamiconiqimpactaward.org. But we'll continue to try and get through a few more of these. Is a design stage for further community and partner involvement possible as part of the project timeline, especially given that everyone is stuck at home currently? We will do our best remotely, but we'll eventually want to engage in person. I think we answered this, but I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add there, Larsen.
Go ahead, Cristobal.
Yes, that I think, that we are, asking for applicants to consider how they are addressing or shifting their plans and making adjustments in order to continue making an impact on these communities. What financial readiness is expected of the principal organization?
Yeah, I think if we look at the rules, the principal organization really must be able to demonstrate that they do have, or in whatever partnership that they put together, that they will have sole authority to direct and control the use of any funds related to the challenge. Although at this point we're not asking for supporting documents around financial soundness of organizations. As we proceed through the competition phase and applicants are get to the final kind of stages, they will be asked for additional documentation such as audited financials for maybe 2 to 3 years to be able to demonstrate that they are financially sound and have the capacity to take in the funds should they be selected as an awardee and be accountable for those funds.
Great, thank you. Will this fund a one-time award, or will it be a recurring fund available every year or every 5 years? And the question is if this is a one-time competition or if this will be repeated.
Yes, if it's about the competition, this is presently a one-time competition, but the award itself will be, the $12 million will be dispersed over 5 years.
Great. And then some questions around registration. Yes, if you've completed the registration form successfully, you will arrive to the dashboard on the platform and have full access to the online application, as well as forums and other helpful information for applicants. Can the same person register for multiple proposals?
So we ask that, to ensure that you submit a strong competitive proposal, we ask applicants to really think about, what solution they're really best placed to implement, and really, try to kind of focus on that one particular solution, and refine that and strengthen that. However, if you are part of an, international organization, or an organization that has, offices across the globe or in multiple countries, we do not, preclude these organizations from participating if they do have distinctly separate and different proposals that they would like to submit. However, the person submitting them obviously will have to be, a different person and part of the different project teams.
That's right. Now, yes, I will add an example of that. Yes, if there's any overlap in team members, that is usually an indicator to us that project might not be eligible for the competition, and that only one submission is allowed for each registered email address. And so while one organization or branch of an organization can serve as lead applicants on one application, you can serve, as Musa mentioned, as a partner and work collaboratively on other proposals that are submitted by different lead organizations. Next question. I have some more questions around the video pitch, especially in the time of COVID, and some of the content that should be explained. Again, we invite you to look at the application to see that we don't expect a professionally produced video, and that we found quite a few successful videos are filmed from an iPhone with a representative from the organization just speaking to the proposal. And so that, I think will suffice in terms of your video pitch. There's some questions around audience. Maybe I'll combine a couple of these for you, Musa. But we actually, I'm looking at the time, we have only 1 minute left. So I think, Musa, if you're all right with that, we can ask folks to go ahead and email us if they have additional questions. And also spend a lot of time on our website to see the eligible populations, eligibility criteria, and other information to help you find some of these answers to your questions.
Sounds good.
Want to close. Great. So I do want to close with some final reminders. Again, please email us at questions@larsenlamiconiqimpactaward.org if there are additional questions. If you are a strong fit and have completed the organizational readiness tool, please register no later than Tuesday, May 5th at 3 p.m. Pacific. And once you have completed a registration form, you'll have full access to the online application, the dashboard, forums, and other information for applicants. And again, we'll be hosting another Q&A webinar after the deadline for registration on Monday, May 18th at 9 a.m. Pacific. This will include a technical demonstration of the platform you all will use to complete and submit your application, and you'll have opportunity to ask more questions on that webinar as well. For more details on the May 18th webinar will be emailed to registered applicants shortly after the registration deadline. Again, recordings and transcripts of these webinars will be made available to registrants. We'll send them by email, post them in the forums on the platform, And this webinar recording will be available on the website as well under News and Updates. And again, while we understand these are very challenging times, we don't expect any changes to our timeline, and these deadlines will not be extended to ensure fairness for all our applicants. So please do not wait until the last minute to complete your registration or to complete your application. Thanks again so much for joining us, and we look forward to learning more about your efforts. I'll hand things over once more to Musin for any closing remarks.
No, thank you again. We as Crystal mentioned, we really appreciate you taking the time to participate. We understand that these are challenging times for everybody, but we commend your continued dedication to work towards the well-being of refugees. And we are very excited about this competition, and we look forward to receiving great proposals with innovative, scale-ready solutions that are really going to allow us to work towards securing a durable future for refugees. So thank you all, and yeah, stay safe out there.